This is the Deseret News National Edition, when your family needs to know more.
Good morning. Welcome to the Deseret News National Edition. I'm Dave McCann. School districts in Tornado Alley have been scrambling to build more storm shelters for schools after that monstrous EF5 twister ripped through Moore, Oklahoma. That storm killed 24 people, including 9 children. We visited one town that's come up with a solution for safer schools that's certainly out of the box. Debbie Dujanovic shows us around.
The building's uniqueness easily spotted from the highway.
You know, in my mind, I was picturing a cave.
Giant bubbles.
They kind of look like mushrooms sitting out here, you know.
No, it's not sci-fi. It's a school.
Out-of-towners probably think, what in the world were those people thinking?
They were thinking safety first. You see, Locust Grove is a small community sitting in Tornado Alley without a lot of taxpayer money to burn.
This is the only building I want them in.
So they set out to build the safest school possible at an affordable price.
From active shooter to earthquake to tornado to any other disaster, this is the safest building you can be in.
And when students and teachers moved in, Superintendent David Cash discovered more benefits.
40% utilities of savings, so that's tremendous for us. That's $25,000 a year.
He likes the building so much, he's doming the new high school.
So if you get over the outside appearance, the inside functions like an elementary school.
But would teachers give it an A?
Way to write your name.
It's like such a great teaching environment.
You're getting good at that.
The temperature and everything is perfect all the time.
As I toured inside, I felt like I was in any other school.
So you see the curve on the wall.
That's the curvature of the wall.
Colorful classrooms, open library, cafeteria. You don't realize you're in a dome until you look up.
That is the dome right up there.
Right, yep, that's the concrete.
They're solid concrete.
Utah architect Leland Gray is designing these thin shell concrete domes all over the country.
Rural Oklahoma, Texas, Mississippi, they're doing their best to keep the cost of their buildings down so they can spend more money on the kids.
Now let's look at the cost. Here in Oklahoma, it's cost about $94 a square foot to build the elementary school and the high school. I also looked at Utah, where it can cost anywhere from $114 a square foot to build an elementary school, all the way up to $174 a square foot for a high school.
I'm going to try to get in the building.
The use of airform technology is what cuts a lot of the building costs.
Oh, that is a lot of air blowing back.
First, compressed air inflates a giant membrane. From the inside, the dome is sprayed thick with insulating urethane.
About 8 inches apart.
It's reinforced with steel bars. Finally, it's covered with layer upon layer of sprayed concrete.
Whether it's 60 feet across or 300 feet across, there's no columns, which means there's no footings. So it's much less expensive to do that.
The monolithic form makes it practically indestructible, and the concrete naturally keeps the building at a comfortable temperature.
Energy efficiency, health of our students.
Dr. Cash believes the ductless heating and cooling units have a lot to do with the 30% drop in sick days.
If I was building a house, I would build a house in Oklahoma, just like this.
And some people already are. BYU professor Arnold Wilson engineered the first thin shell concrete domes with David South 40 years ago. And architects like Gray continue to improve the look and the function. So why aren't more of these domes popping up in Utah?
I suppose tradition.
But this Utah contractor, who is working on that new high school in Oklahoma, thinks one thing will get Utah school districts thinking more circular.
Savings. The financial savings will drive Utah school districts to come take a look at this.
Huge savings, incredible safety. Well, maybe these strange-looking domes aren't so strange after all.
Debbie Dujanovic reporting from Locust Grove, Oklahoma. Leland Gray is the architect of those buildings. Chris Zweifel is the structural engineer. Good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, what is it about these domes that you're so excited about?
Well, I'm excited about them because they've proven what they can do over the years, and they are much less expensive to build and even much less expensive to operate. At the same time, they're healthier than other buildings because of the way they work.
from an engineer's perspective, and a lot of folks are probably going, well, that's kind of an interesting idea, but does it really work? From an engineering standpoint, what do you like about these domes?
Certainly, they're a very structurally efficient building, and you can use less material to cover more building area, and you eliminate connections, which is where you see a lot of failures in other buildings during, wind or seismic events. We
saw in that story, are they really safer than your typical school?
Yes. Yep.
And we're talking about earthquakes too. There's tornadoes, there's hurricanes, but these are built to withstand all of that.
Yes, they are. They're tremendously strong buildings. It's like if you look at an egg and an eggshell, how strong that is if you try to squeeze an eggshell. Well, the double curvature of the dome gives it that same sort of strength, just in a full-size building.
If you take the cost of a high school and then the cost of a dome school, what's the relative difference? How many dome schools could you make with the same cost as one high school?
Somewhere between 2 to 1 and 3 to 1, depending on the facilities that are in there. Some things don't change in cost. An athletic floor costs what an athletic floor costs. Right. All the furnishings are going to be much the same, but the building structure itself, its mechanical system, all of those things greatly reduce the cost and the speed of construction as well.
Why aren't we seeing more of them right away?
Well, it depends on where you're talking about. We're seeing lots more of them as you go down into the Tornado Alley and along the Gulf Coast. We haven't seen them here, and I think it's tradition as much as anything else.
We see all this tornado footage of schools, churches, homes ripped apart. When you guys go into these communities and you say, we can build you a safer school, I imagine the reception is, please do it right away.
Certainly, they're just outside the box, as Lee was saying. Right. They appear a little different, and so sometimes there's a little hesitation because they're different. But when we can go and explain the advantages and the actual structural durability of them, then they're usually well received.
And it seems like what really legitimized this operation is the federal government has come in and said, we want to invest in that, and we want to invest in you guys.
Absolutely. We're doing these all along the Gulf Coast for hurricane shelters. Right now we've got 2 under construction in Brownsville, Texas, one of which will wind up being not only a public library, it's the Emergency Operations Center for FEMA for all of South Texas.
Well, we also saw a basketball arena, and you guys are building everything. A basketball arena that also serves as a place, and we're taking a look. Here's a look at it right here. This also serves as a place where the community can rush to in a tornado warning. Is that right?
Exactly. Public libraries, gymnasiums, large classroom facilities, all of those can service the entire community.
Is it the notion that it's a dome that you think people might be hesitant about, of like, well, look, we like these schools with this architecture and this and that, as opposed to just a plump, here's a dome in the middle of town? What kind of response do you get from that?
Certainly, it takes a skillful architect like Leland here to make it look good, and they are non-traditional. So people sometimes balk at something that's different. But once you get to know them and you're around them, and you feel the safeness that you and the sense of security when you're inside, then they're an easy sale.
There's different domes too, as we saw in that report. You got a few versions you can roll out, right?
Yeah. Well, we can do some that are quite different. Don't forget, we've got a Capitol building that's a dome.
Right. We've
got a number of buildings that are dome-shaped. We've even got some concrete thin shell domes in the community right now. They weren't necessarily air-formed, but I'm not sure what it was originally called, the Bountiful Regional Center in the south part of Bountiful. Same kind of construction.
Well, this will be a self-serving question, but as you look at the Midwest and the Gulf Coast, as you mentioned, in these communities that get hit by these kinds of storms, how could someone go, you know what, I'm going to build something else that's more expensive and not as safe? When you take your business plan into these communities, I would think it'd be a slam dunk.
Well, it typically is there. Yeah. We rarely have a problem there. Here, I think we just need to show people that if they want to spend a little bit more than the folks in Oklahoma and Texas are spending, not a lot more, we can make these buildings look very conventional. We use the same construction, but we put a little bit more effort into those elements that make it look traditional.
Chris, where do you see this going?
I think the sky's the limit. I've seen them gradually increase over the last 10 or 15 years, where we were doing several a year until we're doing, 20 or 30 a year now, and so I think that it just keeps going that way.
Well, it just takes a good idea and a couple of good folks to get it going, and this seems to be heading in that direction. Appreciate both of you being here.
Thank you.
We'll look for more domes popping up, certainly through the Midwest and the South, and maybe out here in the West. Next, mothers are forced to juggle a lot of responsibility, and for moms serving in the military, there can be immense challenges. A closer look at Grace After Fire and how the organization is helping female vets.